Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to take you into Stonehenge. I think that's the right one. There we go. Ooh, look at that. Whoa. Whoa.
Those little circles look like they want.
Do those things look like they could be called blips? Why won't it enter into full screen? It says it won't enter into full screen. Why does the world hate me? It was in full screen yesterday. Alright, let's see if Chrome will do it. La, 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 la. Except those.
Try making the tab full screen.
Yeah. I swear to you, it did it full screen yesterday. Why does it hate me? Why? Alright, we'll go back here. Alright, we'll go to this thing. See, settings for heritage. Allow autoplay. We don't have context blockers. Pop-up windows I'm allowing. Okay, anyway, I just have to do it like this. That doesn't work. I have a feeling it's a website thing. Alright, so we'll just have to do it like this. I'm sorry. I apologize. Not my fault. If these things get annoying to you, you can actually go down here and hide them. But these are the blips I'm talking to you about. They either have like a short video, but usually it's just a box that has some information. Okay, so like you click on the summer solstice, and then it has a block of the thing. Okay, and so this will tell you how the sun comes up to the side of the what's called the heel stone, but there's evidence that there was another stone parallel to it that is no longer there. So they think that it probably came up in between two stones. There, I just summarized it for you. Okay, so again, this is a place that you can't normally go. I only allow people into it like twice a year for the summer and winter solstice. For the summer solstice, it comes over the heel stone, like right here. And then in the winter solstice, if I go 180 degrees, it would come right here. And this is part of a trilithon that has fallen over. So here's one of the posts. Here's a post or a lintel, and there's I think that's the post, and then this is the lintel right here. Okay. This is right here is what's called the altar stone. It's been covered up by the trilithon that fell down. So this is the back of the U, of that U-shaped form on the inside. Whee! 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 Okay, so where's the solstice thing? Oh, there we go. You need like the blue stone, shaped blue stone, there we go. I swear to you, the Wi-Fi in here is terrible. Come on. Remember, all my pop-ups are autoplay and such. Hopefully you'll have better luck. Eventually it will load, and it'll tell you about these blue stones. And so the bluestones, some of them have like a groove carved into the side of them, and it looks like they fit together at some point. So there's even speculation that they were somewhere else before Stonehenge, where they were first aligned. Like they were aligned somewhere in Pembrokeshire in Wales, and then they were moved from that alignment of circle into the one at Stonehenge. And they think that they may have found the spot where it was originally, because they found holes. Alright, anyway, that's not gonna play, but it'll play for you, I promise. Actually, I don't promise. And the funny thing is right at the center of Stonehenge is a pit that leads straight to hell. That's a joke. That's where the camera was, okay? It's not a hole down to Satan. It's just, they couldn't film that because that's physical location of the camera. Anyway, there's Stonehenge and a view that you cannot get. So this is a bluestone. These are your saracens. Now these are both made out of dolerite, just that this has a slightly different chemical composition, makes it darker and grayer. And when it's wet, you can definitely tell why it's called a bluestone.
Do they have a picture of when it's wet?
I hope I don't get anything bad. Wet blue. Stonehenge. Come on, I've seen people pour water on these things before. Okay, I think this kind of gives you an idea of what they look like when they're wet.
Spiritual power.
Man, I bet you that they make a killing somebody mining bluestone in Wales and selling it to people. Oh, a piece of Stonehenge-ish. Alright, and so there's like a bluestone that's been cracked open because, you know, like anything at the surface will oxidize. But anyway, there you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If you're new to me, I make lots of noises. Okay, so what you've been waiting for, the Menhir statues. I don't think I'm gonna do cards today, but maybe. Just keep them on your desk. This would normally be a card ask, but Menhir is synonymous with what?
Monolith.
Not a monolith, a megalith.
Mega.
Yeah. Alright, it sort of is. I mean, you can make an argument that it is monolith, because monolith means one rock, right? But let's not introduce too many terms. Let's just do megalith and menhir. So a menhir statue, generally when they are carved to reference something, they're referenced as a menhir, okay? This is, you know, it's just weird because in France they're always called menhirs, whereas in English we would call it a megalith, and a menhir we would call something specific to France, especially a statue that's been carved. But in France, a menhir is either a plain stone or a carved stone. But in English, a menhir is usually referred to a stone in France or a carved stone. So this is a menhir statue of a woman from Montagnac, France, around 2500 BC, and it's made out of limestone. And there are oodles and bunches of these guys. A lot of them are in France, but there's some like in Italy. There's a big, let's see, there's like a big area of them in I want to say northern Italy or Sicily. I think it's northern Italy, but it could be Sicily. So this one is from around 2500 BC, around the same time as Stonehenge, and also the same time around when the Great Pyramid is being built, reference-wise. So they called a woman. I trust them.
How come they know it? Like, how do they know this is supposed to be a woman?
I have no idea. Because I have no idea. They call it a woman. I think maybe it's the long hair and the sparkling, alluring eyes. So as you can see, this is not naturalistic at all. This is kind of like schematic almost, right? Eyes go here, this is where mouth would go. And then you have these wiggly wobbly arms. So you have like this plaited hair, you have the eyes. This is called a belt or a cinture. Cinture in France. And this is what a lot of them look like, especially in France. Ow. All right, this is the Lady of Saint-Sternon. But we actually can kind of start to discern some things about the people who made them off of some of the features that we have. So this is the Lady of Saint-Sternon. So the stuff at the rings at the thing up here is considered to be something around the neck, maybe a bunch of beads, necklaces or something. Now, the whiskers are actually thought to be facial tattoos or face painting. So what that does is that kind of gives us an idea of maybe they painted themselves or tattooed themselves. The Picts in the north of the British Isles, like where Scotland would be, the Picts were known as the painted ones, and they had all kinds of tattoos and things. And that's around Roman times, because the Roman historians are writing about these barbarian Picts, coming out from the north of Britain, and that's why Hadrian built that wall, Hadrian's Wall, in the middle of the island to kind of keep the Picts out, because they couldn't conquer them. So they built this wall so they could have, know whether they were going to raid or not. But anyway, female, these are her legs, and those are her toesies. Arms, hands. This is, they think it's some sort of like a pendant. All right, this guy over here is a man. If you look very closely, you could probably tell. So we have this hint at a head. We have some arms here. And what else do you notice on this?
He's got no head.
Oh, he's got a head.
He got a bow and arrow.
He got a bow and an arrow, right? Yeah, he's got a bow and an arrow. He's got this ring here. And some sort of way of tightening. That ring acts as something that you can tighten, probably maybe a quiver. These are his legs. This is his belt right here. You can kind of see the hints of a loincloth or hints of his maleness. But yeah, these are kind of well-known menhir statues from France. And they just kind of stick up in places. A lot of them have been moved to museums, but sometimes you can still see them outside. Problem with keeping something outside, even if it's been outside for thousands of years, is that eventually rain and wind, etc., is going to wear it down.
How big are they?
They're probably around I'd say around 4 feet tall. They can be anywhere from like 3 to 5 feet. All right, Neolithic ceramics of Neolithic. I say from 3,500 to 2,000 BC, but let's kind of extend that because I actually added one in for this semester, and make that from around 5,700 to 2,000 BC. And the reason why it's 2,000 BC is that's around the time we start moving into the Copper and Bronze Age into in Europe. Yeah, so starting date is around 5,700 BC, and keep the same ending date. 2000 BC in Europe is considered like to be the edge of the Bronze Age, between Neolithic and then you have working with copper, but basically the Bronze Age happens in the Middle East first, but they go through what's called the Copper Age. But when that technology passes into the north, into Europe, they kind of skip the copper part and they just go straight into the bronze, because that technology was developed somewhere else, okay? But Neolithic ceramics. So, these are figures of a man and a woman. I really should have like reversed those, because the man's on the left and the woman's on the right. You should be able to tell. Hips don't lie, Shakira says, right? Wasn't a unicorn, even though you see that hole in the head. That's probably where they had something organic pasted into it. Maybe some depiction of hair or some sort of a headdress. The really interesting thing about these is that this could be like 1930s sculpture, modern sculpture, you know. And in fact, people like Picasso were actually looking at tribal things from Africa in order to influence their sort of modernism. But these are very abstracted and stylized forms, but they're representational. This guy is often called the thinker. I really love because he's actually sitting on a stool here. I love that little detail. So I guess the dude gets the stool, the woman's got to sit on the ground. Not very gentlemanly of him. So these were actually found in a burial context. So they were both found in the same burial in Romagna, or modern day Romagna. And they're from around 5,000 BC. And they're just gorgeous, you know. You can also see the hole in the side of her head, a little tiny hole. Again, that's where they probably would have placed some sort of organic type of a thing that has rotted out over the millennia. I think he's got a hole in his head too. What is really kind of interesting though is that even though they're very stylized and very abstract, they still have a presence about them. And they kind of feel emotive also. And I think I can relate, and you can relate to them, right? I mean, how many of you have ever felt like this, right? Just kind of like, huh. We don't know exactly what he's thinking, but he's thinking deeply. And when you put your arms like this, it's not necessarily the most natural position. Generally, we do that when we're having some sort of emotional thing happening, you know, or we're just terribly tired. And what I really love is like how almost seemingly proper the woman is, right? It's like, oh yes, I'm having tea with the queen. It's just, they're just absolutely gorgeous and absolutely beautiful. And not concerned with naturalism at all, right? I think that's really a wonderful thing, is that you can tell that naturalism isn't even a thought in these. They're not trying to be naturalistic. They're trying to communicate something in a way that naturalism can't, which I think is really quite fascinating. Okay, so this is purportedly found around the same area, and it's said to be around 5000 BC, but instead of being ceramic, it's made out of limestone. The reason why I included it is because it's from the same area, from around the same time period, but in a different medium, but it's adopting the same pose. And it looks legit to me. But here's the problem, okay? After about an hour of research, I could not find one actual scholarly thing about this. I found lots of Reddit and Tumblr and Facebook mentions about this, but I couldn't find it in any type of actual scholarly thing. I couldn't even find it on Wikipedia, you know. So, I don't know if this is real or if it's a hoax. It looks real, and I don't think it's a modern piece because modern pieces would tend to have a smoother finished surface to them. So it's either a real piece, a modern piece that's rougher than normal, or it's a forgery that's meant to look like an ancient piece. If anybody can find me anything scholarly on this, I would be willing to give them points on a quiz or a test, all right? But it has to be from a scholarly source. Gauntlet thrown down. So this won't appear on a test, all right? I'm just saying, I was doing research because I always love to do research, and every year, every time I teach this class, and I've taught it for, in fact, this is the class I've taught longer than any other class that I've taught in my career. So it's going on 27 years now. And every semester I teach this course, I'm always doing research before the next class and adding new stuff in. So if you guys can find anything on this, I will give you points, and they will not be insignificant points, because I'm really fascinated by this, because I really want it to be from that culture. I really want it to be a limestone version from that culture, but you have to be careful, you know, with what you see. And I could have seen this and go, hey, look, this, and this is what it says. But you have to check what your sources are and make sure that your source is actually a good source. She's like, I'm going for it. Okay, so when did humans begin making ceramic pots in Europe? So the easy answer is around 5700 BC. And it's this culture right here, the linear band culture. And it's not like a marching band. The banding is referring to the decoration on the pottery that they do. And it's LBK because it was coined by Germans. All right. So this would be the German form of that. But when it's referred to in its initials, it's LBK. But when we're talking about it in English, it's linear band culture. And it's called linear band culture because it's basically a group of people that started off around Hungary, and they pushed west into Europe, and they broke off into different groups over hundreds of years, and the pottery slightly started changing based off of regional type of areas. This particular one was found in the Netherlands, so that's about as far west as you can get in Europe. And it's from around 5000 BC, but the linear band culture and the ceramics that they made started around 5700 BC. And it started in Eastern Europe, and it pushed west throughout Western Europe over the next several hundred years. I would own that. So what you're looking at is that you're looking at low-fired, essentially earthenware. Okay, so what is often considered to be the masterpiece of Neolithic pottery in Europe is what's known as the scarpcelling pot. And it was found in Scarpcelling, Denmark, around 3200 BC. Again, it's low-fired earthenware clay, and it's from the funnel beaker culture. Not the funnel cake culture, but the funnel beaker culture. Now, the beaker culture, basically you have the first one, the band culture, right? And then that kind of turns into the beaker culture. And that kind of like starts transitioning from Neolithic into kind of more fracturing of cultures, and then it goes into the Bronze Age. But this is considered to be like one of the masterpieces of Neolithic pottery in Europe. Okay. It's beautiful, it's got a wonderful form, it's got beautiful incised decorations into it. We're not quite sure what it was used for, but the funny thing is that within the last couple of years, they've really developed the ability to tell what was inside of a vessel. So things that were found like 100 years ago, they're saying, oh, this held this. Like some stuff from like King Tut's tomb, like, oh, that had honey in it. You know, so they can start telling what things were in pots based off of new techniques for figuring out what that organic stuff was. Okay, so I'm moving a little bit into the Bronze Age. Yes?
On the last one, would it have had some kind of organic handle to the side?
I would say probably. Generally things weren't made just for decoration like we do nowadays, but they would have had like a practical purpose. So they probably would have run some sort of cord or something through the sides that hold it off of the ground, or to carry it in some fashion. Yeah, where you might put something on a pot for decoration like that, knowing that no one's ever going to stick a cord through that. Generally, at this stage, when they do something like that, it has a practical function to it. Okay, so I'm going to move a little bit into the Bronze Age because we've been basically talking mostly about Europe. I'm going to talk more about the Bronze Age and stuff when we go into the Middle East. And that's just because we're going to start with the Neolithic in the Middle East and then go through the same kind of process. Just going to introduce a little bit of Bronze Age things. I'm just going to give you a couple of the highlights of Bronze Age stuff in Europe, okay? All right, so I consider this to be really, really cool. So it's Menhir, or meaning hold stone. It's probably pronounced Menning. And this is in Cornwall in England. So if you're looking at England, here's Scotland, down here's London, this is Wales over here, and then the island has like a tail that goes down this way. And down there is called Cornwall. They have their own type of sound to their accent. In fact, it's really funny in Britain. You can go 20 miles and have a completely different accent. Like, I was about 20 miles from this place called Doncaster. And you knew if anybody was from Donny, because they had this real low kind of Doncaster type talk. But I lived in Yorkshire, and Yorkshire was different. Yorkshire was like, "Aisle," all they could do it. It was funny because when my wife and I were there, the person who was talking to the other person could not figure out what they were saying, but the person who was not under that pressure could translate it for you. So it basically just repeated what the person said. That was so funny, but like my wife was talking to somebody and I knew she couldn't understand them. I could somehow understand them maybe because it wasn't under pressure. But when I was talking to somebody, my wife would do the exact same thing. Just repeat what the guy said. But this is cool because look at that. That's a lot of work right there. And I love how it's related to that stone. And so, you know, it's not like, okay, we're done carving stone now because we're now in the Bronze Age. Come on, people, get a life, right? No, they're still doing stone stuff. I mean, we still build with stone. We still use stone to decorate. Just look at big cedar, right? But, you know, now they have tools that are a little bit more efficient because you're in the Bronze Age and you can carve bigger holes in rocks. Well, hopefully, if any of you are in my exploration class, that doesn't bring back horrible memories. Imagine carving this hole in this rock.
Yeah, have they had bronze at this point?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's the alignment. Okay, so this is one of the most important bronze pieces found in Europe from the Bronze Age. It's a horse and a sun chariot. It's from Denmark, around 1800 to 1600 BC. So here is a stylized horse on a chariot, and this represents the sun being carried across the sky in a chariot. Holy crap. That's not the only society and culture that conceived of the sun being carried that way. From Egypt to the Greeks, to the Romans. So, this is gilt bronze. I don't have that there. Gilt is G-I-L-T, not G-U-I-L-T. G-I-L-T means that it has gold covering it. G-U-I-L-T means that you feel guilty about something. So this is gilt bronze, G-I-L-T-B-R-O-N-Z-E, gilt bronze. And we still have some remaining traces of the gold that was placed on it. I want to show you, it's hard to see on the metal piece, but this is the schematic of the engravings that were done into the mold. And they're very, very, very precise. And they're very, very, very fine. So this was an excellently crafted cast bronze object. But it came from a mold, and the mold would have had to have had all those things in it. So it was probably carved in something and then covered with something soft, probably like wax or something like that, and then covered in a substance that wouldn't break apart at high temperature, and then they used that as the mold. You melt out all the wax, you dry it, you put in the bronze, and you have that thing. And that is the end of this unit, which means we're gonna have a test on Monday. A test on Monday. You're gonna love my test if you've never taken one before. Well, you're gonna love how beautiful it is and how fun it is. Doesn't mean you're gonna do well on it, but at least you will hopefully not feel as much test anxiety because of it. Any questions before? Yes?
It's art identification to clarify, right? Or
I will go over all of what it is on Friday.
sounds good.
Okay? Along with, I'll kind of go over an overview of kind of what to study. Now, if you utilize those things that I told you about, like on class 1 or class 2 that are downloadable from the handouts page, on campus web. That will go a long way to helping you out. I personally think probably one of the best ways to study for my test is to put the information on a 3x5 card and have a picture of the thing on the other side of it. And then you just look at the picture and then you just regurgitate all the information that you know about it, right? Yeah, like those. And I will give you, okay. Yeah, I have a few minutes to talk about this, so. I'll give you a start on, well, the content of the test, all right? There's going to be probably 5 slide identification. I show you a picture, you give me, I'll have 6 criteria, you give me 5 of those criteria, you get full points, right? So what it will be, it will have a title, this is what we called it. It will have a date range. Generally for things that are 10,000 BC and older, you have to be within 1,000 years of that thing, okay? Things which are about 10,000 BC to about 5,000 BC, you have to have a 500-year range, okay? And then from around 5,000 BC to about 1,000 BC, you're going to have a 100-year range, all right? So kind of keep that in mind. Now, as we go on, those ranges will be kind of shorter and shorter, right? But because we're going to have different time periods in the next one as well, we're going to do Neolithic and Bronze Age and stuff. So just kind of keep to that thing. So from 10,000 BC and later, you have $1,000 range. 1,000-year range that you have to be within on either side of the date. From 10,000 BC to 5,000 BC, it's 500 years. From 5,000 BC to 1,000 BC, it's 100 years. So you have the name of the thing, you have the date of the thing, you have to say where it's from. Okay. So physically, where was it from? You have to know what classification it is. Is it Paleolithic? Is it Neolithic? Is it Bronze Age? Yeah. And then we have, if you know who made it, you have to put who made it. We don't know who made most of these things, but if I showed you the linear pot, you would have to put like linear band culture, right? Right? You couldn't put LBK, you'd have to put linear band culture. Or if you saw the Denmark pot, you'd have to put funnel beaker culture. Very good. All right, you can't put FBC because that's First Baptist Church. All right, so title, year, where from, who made, material, the media. So if it's a woman of Willendorf, it's not limestone, it's limestone and red ochre or red pigment, okay? If it's the woman of LaSalle, it's the same. If it's, if it's the woman of Dolny Vestanice, it's what? Nope. There is no malachite as
It's,
medium.
it's fired ceramic.
Fired clay, fired ceramic would work. Okay, so that's what's going to be. You're going to have 5 slides at the beginning. You're going to have to give me 5 out of 6 criteria to get full credit. All right. So basically, you have a bonus chance to get 5 points on it. From there, we'll go to a matching section. So I'll ask you a question about a thing, or I'll show you a picture and ask you a question about a thing, and then you'll have several options to choose from. Please choose the correct one. Okay. And then I might have like, this is a possibility, I could show you a schematic of post and lintel, and you'd have to pick out the post and lintel and tell me the span in between it or something like that, right? Or I'd show you a picture of a corbel and I say, well, what's the architectural principle that allows corbelling to happen? And you would say, cantilever, right. So those are the types of things, but I'd show you a picture, then ask a question about it. And you would fill in the answer or put the answer down underneath, stuff like that. Sometimes there is stickers on my tests, which means I will have you answer questions by placing stickers in the correct location. And every once in a while I have like a short answer, like I'll ask you a question about a thing and you have to give me a set number of things about it. So, and they're usually worth about 5 points apiece. I will not give you a full-on essay, all right? So most of this is just remembering stuff that I said. So remembering facts about the piece, remembering significant things about the piece, right? And then remembering how they relate to the culture and what they say about the culture that made them. Focus on that stuff. Okay. So I'll do a full-on review on Friday. I will give you study slides, and I will give you a set of slides that my 5 slides will come out of. So you don't have to study every image for the slide section, okay? All right, good. Bye-bye. See you Friday. Someone grab the lights on the way out, please?
Thank you.